Blood Brothers podcast, a Five Pillars of Mad Mamluks production.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the first of many Blood Brothers podcasts. My name is Sim. Along with me are the new hosts of the Blood Brothers, Dilly and Aki Hussain. Welcome to the show. Your show.
Welcome to our show, Sim.
Yeah. I'm glad you're both are properly dressed for your first ever episode. Way to leave a first impression.
Well, what did you expect me to dress like?
Not like a Russian mobster, for starters.
I just wore what I
That's not very nice, Sim.
wore to work. To be honest.
You know, in America, this is how the Slavs dress. The Slavs, the people who are involved in
All the
some
good stuff.
activities that may or may not be legal.
Well, in the UK, this is how people who are involved in sports, people who go gym, people who also engage in those kind of activities. But good thing we don't apply racial stereotypes to clothing. Right?
It's not racial stereotype. I'm just saying.
But again,
there are certain attire that is attributed to certain ethnicities. I don't see what's the problem with that.
It's
I'm-
just popping
I don't
straight
think
away.
that's a stereotype.
I'm comfortable, mate.
You're
All right.
comfortable, are you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely comfortable.
There's a lot of things you could be comfortable in.
What I'm uncomfortable about is the way you opened our podcast by taking gunshots at me, bruv.
I think that's the most appropriate way to open it up because that's the kind of day we've been having.
Yeah.
You're wearing a
Been
hat
just-
indoors though.
Yes, of course. This is how we roll in America.
Oh, what? Rolling down the snow mountain?
The only people that wear hats indoors are babies when they're newborn.
That's true. Touche. We spent about 2 days together, me and Dilly. I came in yesterday into the wonderful city of Bedford. Dilly was an amazing host in the sense that he drove all the way down to Gatwick Airport, which is how far? An hour and a half?
Oh, calm down. 95 miles.
95 miles.
In usual M25 traffic, it can take up to 2.5-3 hours. But alhamdulillah, yes, there was no traffic at all.
And how long was that drive?
About hour and a half, hour 40 minutes.
That's unheard of.
Hour
That's
40
unheard.
minutes?
Yeah, that's unheard of.
That's what we
Bedford.
call a result.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a result.
I had no idea. I just thought London had one airport. That's how we Americans think. We just think that the UK has Heathrow and that's it. No one thinks about anything else. So when I had bought the tickets, she said, What I-
madness. As if like UK some unknown nation. England. It's
Well,
got
we-
one airport called Heathrow.
You know what I'm really trying to... You know what's really annoying me,
There's
Sim?
Chicago an airport.
You know what's really annoying me?
Yes.
They do have an airport.
Do they?
I think they didn't come on Home Alone. Chicago Airport
Yes.
came on Home Alone.
Yes, that was Heathrow, I think. Yes. No, that was O'Hare.
Yeah, but there's something that's really slightly just tad annoying since you've been down. Is this kind of very belittling view of that you have of England? And hold on, and I'm not one to actually be of this kind of very proud British. But in fact,
Well, you've seen the intro and the promo for the podcast.
Okay,
huge
so,
fans.
let's give the listeners some preface to this. When I first came, I asked Dilly, this is normal for you guys to have some tiny little glasses like this.
That's a normal
Because
size glass.
In America, we don't utilize these type of glasses. We have tall glasses, showing our generousness, our hospitality
But the tap's
to our.
not running. It's if you need more water, the water is there.
Yeah, but you have to get up and go get more.
Have you seen a short? Have you seen insufficiency in my hospitality to you?
No.
No, can you just answer that first?
No, of course not.
Thank you very much.
But I would say, in general, the characteristics of British is that, at least the way Americans view them, is that they don't have much blood, and this is probably an explanation that they're very let's just say
What?
they don't seem very warm very warm people, at least from the movies. You just see
You know what?
You're coming from a country that's got an invaded country, nuked, the only country in the world that's nuked another country, killed millions of people, and here you are talking about it.
Let's leave politics.
No,
out of it.
politics,
Let's leave
American politics,
Let's
American
leave
politics.
out of it in
No.
terms of good
I hear
nature,
you, I hear you.
American
No.
hospitality.
You know what? I agree with
You
you.
know about
Nah.
Southern comfort. You know about. I'm not talking about the
So,
alcohol.
I was just about to say that as
I'm
well.
talking about Southern hospitality.
Yeah, we also know about the southern lynching as well, mate. Yeah, don't come here trying to tell us that our glasses are too small. I'll happily get up and refill it for you. Okay?
There's
So
truth in
this
what you're
is-
saying. I agree with you.
Thank
Yeah?
you.
In
You're the
compar-
more reasonable.
No, for
Hussein
real. No,
brother.
there's truth in what you're saying. I mean, I'll give you an example that's close to home. I went and visited a friend in Glasgow, Scotland,
Yes.
and the people there are day and night different when it comes to hospitality, warmth. It's general reciprocation.
Yes.
Yeah, you say hello, they say hello, make conversation with you, and it seems genuine.
Yes.
They do that in the north of the country, bro.
Yeah,
Northern-
and get warmer the norther you go. And
Whilst
to
it,
the point-
whilst it gets colder in weather, right? That's
mad, crazy.
It's like,
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
one of the things about the Blood Brothers show is that we're not going to let any Americans try come here and try tell us how to do our biz. You
That's
understand?
exactly what I've been noticing. That
Yes, yeah.
you don't let Americans tell you anything.
And even then, and even reluctantly, you're pushing us to bring out certain senses of izzah over being British, and that's not even something we.
What's
really,
wrong with that? Why do you feel uncomfortable defending your Britishness?
Because Britishness is a very subjective and relative term, and it's been politicized.
Oh, well, on
currently.
the political level, of course, you condemn what's right or condemn what's wrong, and join in the good and all that. But in terms of culture and your British identity and the love that you've developed for your country,
Well, you were happily
I
defending.
don't see the contradiction in that.
No, I was happily defending my shower on the sides of the glasses, mate.
Yeah.
You understand? There's a distinct difference.
I don't-
No, the point I'm trying to make, Sim, is I know that over in the United States,
Right.
Being a proud American or being an American Muslim, it means something very distinctly different to being a British Muslim, or what being British means to Muslims here in the UK. I know this. This is well known, well established. I think you know that as well.
No. Well,
In the
let's
UK.
maybe the audience doesn't know that. So let's help delineate the difference for
I like that. Delineate.
Yeah.
Dilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dilly.
Did you use that? Did you do that on purpose?
I did.
Yeah, it's
No,
pretty.
I'm lying. I didn't. I have to be honest. That's one thing about Sim. It's very straightforward and honest,
SIM card.
especially about how awesome America is.
Yeah,
No, I'm just joking.
yeah, you've got the Mad Mamluks to do that, mate.
No. We look. Anyone who's been listening to the Mad Mamluks, they know we bash America in things that it needs to be bashed about, foreign policy and all that. And this is why we want to work with an organization such as Five Pillars, because Five Pillars has been consistent about presenting Islam as it is, unadulterated, without all the filters, without all the bells and whistles that are related to political correctness and everything. And I thought it would be a natural fit for both of our organizations to work together. And I saw Dilly, Dilly's Dilly. I mean, we don't, Aki, that we can't give him a bigger head than he already has, but he's pretty well known. He doesn't need much of an introduction.
Nah.
Maybe to the American audience. For the American audience, Dilly is well known as the Five Pillars. One of the you and
Roshan Muhammad
you and
Saleh.
Roshan started Five Pillars. How many years? 6 years ago, was it?
2013. So it's actually going to be our 60th anniversary
60
on the 14th of May.
That's wonderful, man. You guys have gone a long way in
We
that
have.
6 years.
It's been a long journey.
We've been here. Mad Mamluks has been around for 3 years, maybe a little over that, 3.5 years. It's been a big pain in the to start a organization from nothing. And what we decided was like, hey, you know what? Instead of creating a whole new brand, we're gonna just go ahead and partner together, utilize our audiences that Five Pillars has established and Mad Mamluks has established, and help grow the brand like that. And from my perspective, I always wanted UK brothers being part of the Mad Mamluks. We already have a strong partnership with the brothers in Australia called Boys in the Cave, and I thought it would be a natural fit to have podcasters ideologically on the same plane, working together to disseminate knowledge and disseminate entertainment in entertaining. How do I describe the podcast? That's one.
Infotainment.
Infotainment.
Yeah.
That's a good.
But I love the way you just literally took our lines. You just literally went and
Bam!
explained.
Done.
Yeah.
Boxed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else, mate.
Yeah. Just
I am a mic hog.
yeah. He just swiftly
Straight
just
up
came and just took our lines.
I did. Sorry.
Yeah, talk
Yeah.
about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, thanks.
But there is much more. There are many more layers than that.
Yeah,
There's
thanks,
many
Sim.
more layers than that.
Thanks, Sim.
I just kind of gave the intro.
I'm so glad that you're only hosting this episode. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, this is Sim passing the baton on to Dilly, who will, or Aki, who will take my spot in future episodes.
Inshallah.
So, what else is there in terms of the dynamic or the contrast between American and British culture? What else do you see different regarding them? regarding how Islam is disseminated.
What do you think, Zuri?
I mean, just
I think it comes down to how the cultures are and personalities are in the UK and America.
yeah,
So if we go back to what you first said when you first started shafting us about British culture and how English people come across somewhat cold,
yeah.
not very warm, not very welcoming. How would you describe the average American public when it comes to interacting with strangers?
They're generally a little bit, there's zones. They have a personal zone that they feel like people shouldn't, infringe on. I feel like Americans are a little bit protective, but they're not as distant as the British people are. I feel like British people, their zone is much more bigger. Like, hey, hang on, we're not that close yet.
Yeah.
Why are you going in for a hug yet?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that Britishness comes.
I'm not talking about general. I'm talking about Britain in general. I'm not talking about the Muslims and things like that or specific interactions. Please forgive me, any British people who are taking offense to this. I'm just saying, as an American, many of our perceptions towards the British are that they have a bigger zone of my personal space.
Yeah, I think that shared personality that you get in England comes through in how we interact with each other on religious things as well.
Yeah.
Or certainly political. So, yeah, that's what I would say. I think one of the biggest distinctions is going to be the personalities of the people.
Right.
So the stock American personality and shared culture and shared personality, you will see there will be a thread that runs through in how people interact on pop culture, religion, politics, food, whatever it may be. And similarly, I reckon you'll see that in British culture as well. People are just a little bit more conservative, a bit more standoffish, not as open, and just more politically correct.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'll be honest with you. Even if you put aside these kind of, cultural and characteristical, I just made that word up, differences between Americans and Brits, I fundamentally still see them as nations, criminal colonial statesmen. So it don't matter whether Brits have a very political correct approach to how they build relations, whether the Americans want to smile and hug you all the time. The point of the matter is, and you can't make that
Distinction?
Yeah, because it's important.
No, I think you're saying that, but I'm gonna have to push back a little bit. I think certain people want us to say that. I think some certain friends of ours, people that have certain expectations of ours,
not at all.
They want you to say that, but I feel like genuinely down to our bone, we can perfectly make that distinction between the political level, the political aspirations of Britain and America, compared to how they are.
Look, bro. Yeah, the point I was trying to make is both the United States and Great Britain have a history. They have a history of a number of shenanigans that they get up to around the world.
We all agree to that.
Yeah.
So that's what I find.
I don't think that's what Simba was
No,
asking.
but the point is, I find
about the fabric of the people.
But the fabric of the people.
Islam differentiates.
We were talking. No.
The way he wants to go in straight.
No, but hold on. Oh, I thought we were talking about general personality.
No. You just said you can't make a distinction between what's happening in the political sphere.
I'm going to contextualize it. I'm going to contextualize. But I thought we were going to get to how Islam is disseminated in the both countries. Those differences.
Yeah, but that was the pretext.
We'll get to that. The point I'm trying to make is,
I think
whether they
you were basically saying, how does Islam differ amongst Muslims in the UK to Muslims in
look,
America?
man, whether a group of people are considered warm and welcoming, whether they're warm and welcoming or a bit more reserved and politically correct, it goes without saying that it is these very same characteristics that make up the establishment, that make up the institutions, that make up the higher echelons of power and the structures that go on to do what they do. So I don't really care if you're smiling and you want to hug or you want to be a bit more politically correct and have some reservations. As for how Islam is disseminated,
yes,
as to da'wah and activism and all that kind of stuff in terms of Muslim communities, it's a day and night difference, right? And the reason why that is, I believe, that I know there's a number of stereotypes. First of all, do you understand my previous point that I made?
I understand it to an extent, and I feel like there needs to be some distinctions made between some of the things you said related to how the personalities shape the government.
I think the question that is answered actually is, even though personalities and cultures may differ between Brits and Americans,
they're going to do the same things.
Don't necessarily.
Politically, they have the same objective and they want the same end.
Political ideas. There's a big difference between political ideas and how they transform themselves into action or political actions. There's a big distinction between that and culture and the general attitudes of a society.
Sydney was asking a softer question.
Let's just say.
Well, I'm going in harder because let's
just say if Britain was 90% American, Britain was 90% immigrant.
Yeah.
You think it would change how British foreign policy?
Absolutely.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it would.
No, it wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Because the structure of the institutions in Britain require an internalization of the ideas of the Enlightenment, of capitalism, of Adam Smith's books. You do not rise to power until you internalize those ideas.
If Britain ever became 19%,
this is the thing. I mean, I think there's a contradiction in the example. Because to say that there'll be a 90% immigrant population,
I don't think there's an Islamic state been established.
It goes against the idea that the theory and the philosophy of the ruling state will even allow that to exist.
No. So what I'm saying, when I mean 90% immigrant,
so theory,
what I mean
right.
is second, third generation. That meaning people of various identities have taken hold and are part of now British society. It's not just plain white folk who are in parliament and things like that. What we're talking about is people who are second, third generation.
It depends how secularized these generations have become.
What I'm saying
it makes no
is
difference then if they're immigrant. If they are children of immigrants.
But I believe that if Britain ever got to a stage where it's 90% people of colour, that I don't think they will be engaged in as many wars and interference.
Are you kidding me? I'm shocked, Dilly, you're saying you would say this. Genuinely shocked.
No, because this is a very
important. Goes against the fabric of how maybe we should scrap this. No.
Because if I'm thinking to myself, if Britain ever gets to a point where it's 90% people of colour or even 90%,
I think it's a crazy idea to consider.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't matter.
I'm thinking at that point it's become some kind of Islamic state, bro. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. Look, we're talking about identities, right? We're not necessarily talking about religion, okay? We're not talking about 90% Islam. We're talking about a kaleidoscope of different identities that have taken hold in either Britain or America.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. I'm saying
in theory, yes, he's correct.
As the institutions that are set up to allow people to climb to power do not allow people who are out of a certain mold. They don't allow people who have not internalized.
But then 90% of any country will never have total power over a country. So how could 90% of the population ever yield that much power over a state and its institution and its policy? They're just the masses then.
I'm sorry. You're not making sense.
You said, listen to me. You said if Britain was 90% people of immigration or people of color or people of
a multitude of identities.
But 90%.
Yes.
Yeah. So 9 out of 10 Brits.
I said it would not make a difference on foreign policy.
No. But it would matter depending on a particular reality. Are these 90% fully assimilated to a particular?
Yes, of course. That's what I said. I said second, third generation. They're part of.
It depends how secular these communities have become.
Then if that's the case, then it doesn't make a difference.
You could be 100%.
Yes.
But Muslim. Look, I want to clarify a particular point. So we kind of agree then.
No, you're agreeing with me.
You're
conceding that Sim was right.
I'm not conceding nothing. I'm saying that you didn't articulate yourself well enough for me to actually understand the point you were making.
I articulated perfectly well. I said second, third generation.
You didn't say fully assimilated. You didn't say fully assimilated.
Why would you need to say if you're second, third generation, you are fully assimilated?
Because that's not true.
Why wouldn't you?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we've got third and fourth generation British Muslims who are not assimilated.
Well, maybe some, but majority, the vast majority of
this is Americanness coming out. You stereotype. Don't apply your paradigms and your frameworks and your realities to us. Alhamdulillah, the vast majority of Muslims in Britain, yes, some have assimilated. alhamdulillah, we have still remained firm upon our identity.
I would say so for sure.
Okay.
That's what's distinct.
So you're saying
that's what's different. Look at his smiling. He's caught.
I'm glad you think
We've got the crux stumped, mate.
So you're saying the vast majority of British Muslims,
third, fourth
they
generation,
denounce secular liberal values. They denounce democracy.
If you break it down to what they actually mean,
Sure, yeah.
That's why you have a mayor in London.
That's one guy.
Okay.
That's one guy.
Listen,
bro.
You've given such a specific example.
The guy's gone full Trump on us. He's gone full Trump on us.
In London, is what? How many percentage Muslim?
I think 1 in 5 or 1 in 6.
1 in 5 Muslims. You think he got to power without the Muslim vote? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Dilly Hussain?
Sim, you and I both know that there are Muslims, many Muslims out there, that whilst they may engage with the political system or the democratic system, if you present it to them in a manner in which that, look, if democracy in its asal form, in its original form, is compared to a system which has an Islamic basis, which is better, they will tell you exactly which one is better.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Whereas in America, they'll turn around and say, democracy is.
So let me frame this question.
Let me pose a question to you. How many Muslims do you think in America are clear on what democracy is and what secular liberalism?
Or even what Islam is.
And in its relationship to Islam?
In relationship to it being prohibited in Islam, or the idea being alien in Islam and being a problem.
I think I would say 98 to 99% are.
They
clear. Completely
crystal clear.
They crystal clear do not understand the distinction.
There you go.
Okay. So whereas in the UK you will find many Muslims who engage with the political system that say, you know what, it's not the best system, it may not be an Islamic system, but we need to engage with it given our given reality.
But also I think the percentage you gave there, almost 100%, basically almost every single Muslim doesn't really know. Right. It's positioned to them that, look, this is going to be good for Muslim communities, this is going to be good for the country. Don't you want that? Yes, I do. Vote for this person. Here's their policies, right? So similarly, same thing in the UK. A lot of Muslims, the majority of Muslims, it's not their forte, it's not their interest, and it's not really one of their priorities to understand what they're doing. They just need to be told and convinced it's good.
But we agree on that. But I will say that will last maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 generations down the line. You will be fully assimilated.
But that exists right now amongst people our age. What generation are we?
Third. Our children will be fourth.
I beg to differ that under the current edifices of the educational system and many other institutions that are in play that work to internalize secular liberal values among the young Muslim minds, I would beg to argue that yes, maybe you as parents, you'll teach your kids and their kids will teach a little bit. Eventually, you will assimilate.
No. But the key issue here is ignorance. The ignorance will remain in the masses on the details of it being a problem spiritually, ideologically. The ignorance will all remain because for the parents to be able to educate their children that, look, this is what this means and this is what Islam is and this is why it's a problem. That's not going to happen.
I think we had
it didn't exist for them from their parents. Ignorance will remain in the huge percentages. What we're saying is that if you were to break it down to Muslim communities or an individual Muslim, that, look, this is why secularism, liberal ideas, democracy, this is why it's a problem with Islam. And you afford the time and you have the luxury of time to explain that to them, they will have a clear stance on which identity they want to be with.
I think that can work. Maybe you're talking about the current reality, but I would beg to say I would strongly argue that will not work for the future because the institutions are in place to make you assimilate.
I think we.
Do you know what I mean by assimilate? Assimilate in your mind that secular liberalism is the solution for the future.
I don't think amongst Muslims in Britain that is a prevalent idea.
Maybe, and I'm saying I agree with you. Maybe in the current reality that might be true, but I'm saying in the future that is not true.
But we are the future. We are the future of our forefathers.
I think you're underestimating the zeal and the inclination towards Islam.
Unless you have
Muslims in the UK. Muslims, alhamdulillah, the Muslims in the UK, my dear brother, and I say this with utmost humility and honesty.
There is a stubbornness.
Yeah, there is.
I like that stubbornness about you guys.
And I guess we may get that from our. I don't even want to use that term really. that the fact that we are British as well, and we kind of get that stubbornness or that kind of reluctance to
No, I
accept.
think there's not. Not at all.
No.
There is a stubbornness that would come as a result of shared culture being British.
I'd say
But that's-
resistance. I'd call it resistance.
But I think that resistance and stubbornness comes from it being embedded from a very early age that Islam is the truth, there is one God, the Prophet ﷺ is your messenger, and this is the correct religion. And that's where the stubbornness comes from.
See, this is but I'm betting that that's more Dilly and Aki Hussein's experience.
I don't think so, bro.
I want to
Oh,
know
so-
the average Joe. If I pull him on the street,
I don't think so.
whether he will understand.
The average Joe would be so offended.
Okay.
If you
The average Muslim Joe.
Hey guys,
it would be offended if you assume that they didn't have the same
Wait.
sentiments that you think is exclusive to me.
watch this.
Really?
Guys,
Sure, 100%.
guys, those of you who are watching this podcast, I want you guys after this show to go to YouTube and go to IERA, Don't Hate Debate. Does Islam need a reformation? I went and done a Vox Pox with average Muslims just walking around in London. And I asked them just basic things. Do you think the Quran is the truth start to end? Do you think it needs changing? It was nearly consensus. The uncle, the auntie, the young, the old, the hijab, the no hijabi, all said, are you
Of course
crazy?
the uncle and aunties, they're all going to be.
But I didn't stop that there, bro.
I need to see
Look.
it from people who were raised in these institutions.
Okay.
People who were raised in this education.
So give me
The Muslim private
give
school
me-
look,
system is limited.
No, there's
You
no
think-
data. There's no data for me to cite here at the moment. So again, this is a very subjective discussion.
Yes.
And it's something that's essentially based on our limited observations and interactions with the Muslim Ummah. And I would like to think that I, in the UK, personally, have interacted with a fair amount of Muslims. I humbly say this, not the entire 3 million, but
Yeah.
I've done with different groups and different backgrounds, ethnicities, from
But for
different.
sure, we have a sensation in our own community.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, a secular ideologue watching this right now, he will be laughing his butt off because he will think that these guys are deluding themselves if they think if they will be thinking that given the institutions that they have working for them.
Wait, whoa. Simshalah Hadouken you straight away. Shall I just finish you off like finish him off? What is it? Fatality. Yeah. No, let me.
I'm telling you,
I'm gonna
because
finish you off. So
having
because I feel what's
having
happened. I feel what's happened here, and I'll be raw with you, brother. You've come
Is he
on.
hurting about America?
Yeah, that's what it is. You've come onto the Blood Brothers podcast. And you're trying to superimpose certain things that are happening in the US to the Muslim community in the UK. Let me tell you something, brother. Policy maker after policy maker, institution after institution, political party after political party. What is their biggest problem with Muslim, third, fourth generation Muslims? What's their biggest problem?
The stubbornness.
They're not changing. These lot are firm.
Resistance.
They're not changing.
On, like,
That's
fundamental ideas.
why Ofsted are now targeting children as young as 3 and 4. And alhamdulillah, we've got protests happening in Birmingham and in Manchester and in parts of the Midlands and North because we're not having it.
On
And that's
things,
us.
on things you would think that this generation
On
would
things
wave
in
off.
the US, which is
Like
cool, man.
relationship education,
On,
sex education.
yeah, on things
like
which
that.
Americans are cool with, bro.
so here's
We don't have no Muslim girl up here, man. Alhamdulillah. We're never going to have that.
So be happy for now.
I know-
Alhamdulillah, I'm happy for the Muslims. I don't want the degradation of Islamic values among the British Muslims. I'm quite happy to hear this. Okay, contrary
Are you
to what,
surprised?
how you are trying to.
Are you
paint-
genuinely surprised, though, Sim?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Oh, wait,
because
oh,
I know
oh,
I'm very familiar with the British people,
Good.
especially the British Muslims.
Good.
And
So you just play?
no. I know very much where this is coming from, but I don't think you understand institutions of disseminating secular ideas. And I think that right now you mashallah, that's great that many politicians are sticking to their beliefs. People who have ascended to power, but
No, that's not what we said.
is that what you're saying? You're not saying that.
No. I'm saying that political parties, institutions, think tanks, and the echelons of power, when they talk about Muslims in the UK, they talk about a group, a minority within the UK who seem to have not assimilated to a particular set of secular liberal values.
Others.
That's the biggest thorn with our community.
But that's a small thorn, is what I'm arguing.
small thorn?
I'm saying even if it's a sizable thorn, okay?
Bro, let me tell you
it's not
something.
enough to undermine secular
Bro,
liberal
bro,
values,
bro,
and it's not going to make a dent in the establishment, is what I'm saying.
When we know that in the Islamic tradition, that Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that amongst the Muslims, we will follow the ways of the people of the book, the Jews and Christians. We will follow the steps and we will make the mistakes. But what makes us unique to the Jews and Christians, that amongst our people, amongst the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, there will always be a group or groups that will remain upon the truth. So when I look at the state of Muslims in the United Kingdom, I do see us as a demographic representative of Muslim minorities in the Western world who are actually holding quite firm upon their tradition and their beliefs compared to other countries like France or like the United States for sure.
We're not denying.
What percentage of British Muslims do you think are, let's just say, have denounced secular liberal values?
But Sim, it's never like that. No one comes out from the rooftop and say we denounce secular liberalism. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, generally speaking, and again,
let's just say they would be reluctant to accept or be conducive to liberal ideas.
I think more Muslims would be happier and more inclined to not discuss the matter because they feel uncomfortable and
the climate of fear.
They don't feel equipped to have a lengthy conversation about it if they probed further.
But the vast majority of the Muslims are socially conservative.
But most of them will be like, look, I know what I believe. Yeah, I believe in Islam. This is madness. But we have to live here, I don't want to live like this. I don't believe in all of this crazy, these liberal ideas, these liberal values, and how people live in their relationships with their parents, with the
breakdown in marriage.
Basically, utilitarianism. Is what is essentially what. It's not that different from American Muslims as well.
No,
American Muslims. No. Contrary to what you see from Muslim Girl and all these other. Some of the silliness that you see on social media.
Don't make me start name dropping.
They're the minority.
Don't make me start name dropping, bro.
I don't care about name dropping. You can name drop all the ones.
We'll not name dropping.
We're the Mad Mamluks. We're 5 pillars. We don't give a bleep about about anyone's feelings, except our sponsors.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
That Nike, yeah.
What was that?
Oh, what is it in America? Is it Nike?
Is it Nike? I don't
Nike?
know. Where did that come from?
So yeah, what are we talking about? Sponsors and that?
No, what we were saying is that in regards to some of the major things that you see on social media, like Muslim Girl and etc., it's easy to talk about Muslim Girl because she's been recently in the news. But they're a minority of Muslims.
Muslim Girl, Amina Wadud, Wahajat Ali.
Yes.
Bro, the list is endless, bro.
Right.
The list,
but they're the people who have been allowed to ascend in the secular.
Why do you imagine Nawaz and Quillian Foundation now get their core support from the United States? Why do you think that is?
From my understanding, it was the British who first started.
No. But that funding is now dried up, and they've now set base in the US, where a lot of their support, not only financial but their ideas, are now permeating within segments of the Muslim community. So and why is that they find it more comfortable? They talk about America now, the likes of Majid Nawaz, Osama Hassan, and others, who are the most despised. It's fertile because they know
fertile ground because of the friends that they have on the left, like Sam Harris and them, etc. They've allowed them to share the stage with them.
Okay,
so they become the pet monkeys for those people.
You've afforded us the ability to clarify what we feel is the average Muslim's kind of position and inclination towards Islam, what level they're at spiritually. Yeah, if they were pushed to give an answer. Tell us about what you feel is what's the sensation.
Can I just make one quick comment before we do
for the average Muslim in America?
Sorry, Sim. And I guess as episodes move on, we're gonna have to work on this chemistry between us, because I know even growing up as brothers, you interrupt me, I interrupt you. You know what I mean? So I just want to make a point for our viewers, especially brothers and sisters who are watching in the States. Wallahi, we love you for the sake of Allah. We do. But it's just that a lot of Muslims, when we look over to the States and what's happening in the States, not only are we disgusted, we're scared, and we don't want none of that arriving on our shores. And some of it has arrived on our shores.
It's coming.
Yeah, and we're going to resist to it, bro.
Yeah.
We will resist it.
I hope so.
We will resist it. Trust me.
I hope so. But it's because whether you like it or not, whether you're willing to admit it or not, the world looks to America for direction.
Yes.
Even its youth, for fashion, everything.
But okay.
But except this whatever you're wearing right now,
listen,
that needs to change.
It's Adidas classic tracksuit. Anyway, listen. The point is, America might be what the whole world looks to, but when it comes to Zui, would you agree with me? Da'wah and activism, where do people look to? In terms of the Western world, it's not their state.
For sure, it's the UK.
It's the UK. Everyone knows that. Every Islamic movement
agree to that.
So, whilst you guys may enjoy that favoritism and that kind of leadership, that when it comes to da'wah and activism, UK is the world's capital.
Here's my counter to that. Regarding mass media, we are right now seeing things like Rami being created, and that's going to be the first of many jokes. Yeah, It's a complete abomination. People have seen our episode regarding Rami, where I started yelling. I got really heated. You didn't. You don't watch some of our episodes. Perhaps the listeners will know exactly what I'm talking about. I got very upset during that show because I saw Ramadan being spat at. I saw the Quran recited on an episode where a man is committing zina in Ramadan after picking up a sister and trying to help her from the masjid, and brought her back home, to her home, and then ends up sleeping with her.
What's been the response of the Muslim community to that?
Nothing.
Right. You see in the UK that just wouldn't go down.
Well, Rami.
It's very little. There's been. I won't be completely disingenuous. There has been,
but it's not.
But nothing to the level. I think part of the reason is because it's on Hulu, which is not accessible to many people. Hulu is not subscribed by majority of Muslims. Yeah. But I think as some of these, and I encourage some of the listeners who have seen that show, compile some of the clips and string it together and show some of the defamation of Islam happening on that show, and spreading it to the world. Because
sadly, Sim, I think even when this show becomes more apparent to the knowledge of the Muslim community, I don't think the outrage and the resistance to it will be as strong as perhaps if something even remotely got a whiff of it in the UK. Let me tell you something. In the UK, we had this program called Citizencon. It is nothing compared to the Hulu, or what's it called, Rami show.
Well, let me ask you this:
Citizencon, but that comparison is just.
No, but do you remember the opposition to that? Like Muslims boycotted that show. Like Muslims don't watch Citizencon. Citizencon, very mild. Comedy. But like, even Muslims right now, we're not having it. We're not having it. There was a Muslim MP, I forgot her name, and even her being engaged in the establishment and the mainstream politics. Even she called out and said this is racist and Islamophobic, and Muslims just didn't watch Citizencon.
Yeah.
And that was something that cannot even be compared to Rami. You understand? So the point I'm trying to make is
the point I'm trying to make is that we're not, because Rami is accessible in the UK. It's accessible in Australia. It's accessible. People can subscribe to Hulu and obtain.
But it's a show that's produced in America, right?
Right, but there still needs to be some kind of, some kind of protest being made.
I wouldn't even plug it on the show, to be honest.
No, of course, but I don't think our listeners are the type of listeners who would want to promote it or want to engage in something that we've warned them about, unless you're particularly taking some of those snapshots from that episode to hopefully, inshallah, let the world know about some of the defamation, some of the insults that are coming from the left at Islam. I hope that if they do watch it, they are doing it for that one sole reason.
Show. Who's going to be watching that madness?
Yeah, there'll be some.
What's the program about? Anyway,
no,
sometimes people just watch it out of curiosity. Yeah. I'll be honest with you.
But the broader point I was trying to make was that these type of shows are going to be disseminating themselves all across the world and available on things like Netflix, Hulu, Disney's new channel that they're going, or their new streaming service that they're going to be rolling out soon. These kind of shows that are blatantly spitting on Islam will be absorbed by majority of the world. It doesn't matter how strong the American or the UK Muslim community is in disseminating Islam. The overall project, the overall colonial project or neo-colonial project, is that to change the way the Muslims feel about their faith, letting go of past traditions, the way they have an emotional connection to their faith. Just one of the themes.
I don't think we dispute that, bro. We don't dispute that the machine you're talking about.
Yes.
That indoctrination machine.
That has billions of dollars behind it.
Of course, that's going to have a huge impact.
Of course, but we don't even.
So the UK Muslims, despite our best intentions, all the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into all this production, it's still a drop in the bucket.
But I don't think it's an impending doom.
Okay, can I just?
I don't think it's an impending.
I'm not saying it's an impending doom, but I'm saying at the current rate. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be the vanguard of His faith. He will, if He needs to, He will do whatever is required to make sure that His faith is protected. Everything's on the table, in regards to preserving the faith. But I will say, right now, with the billions that are being spent in producing productions like Rami, millions that are being spent in creating these type of productions, we don't stand a chance at the current rate.
If I'm correct, I beg you to don't interrupt me. Let me just say what I need to say, yeah?
Go ahead.
It's got 3 strong characters in it, so sometimes it's hard to just get in there. This conversation, the very fact that we have,
I don't know, man.
and I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Let me just get it out for you, yeah?
No, I wanted to interrupt you. I didn't get a reaction.
Look, we're talking about a number of different things. If you're talking about this global machine, indoctrination machine of secular liberalism, which is pumped by capitalism, and is literally not just changing people in the Western world, it's changing people's thinking in the whole world, including the Muslim majority world. Yeah.
Right.
If we're talking about a discussion of a systemic machine which is looking to change values, ideologies, and all of that, we know the answer to that. The only way to beat a machine is with another machine. Yeah. So when I talk about structural Islamophobia or ideological Islamophobia in the mainstream media and all that kind of stuff, I've done many lectures on it, I've written about it extensively. I know that we can make some meaningful attempts to try counter this stuff, but it will never ever be the same as competing with the machine.
Right.
A machine is only defeated by a machine.
Which is why we have to support things like some of the initiatives, like what Erdogan has done. I mean, there's no
Where
other
the
way to...
blood fire did Erdogan come from, bro?
I'm just saying some of the work that he's put into pushing, making sure that TRT produces shows like Ertugrul and things like that.
Yeah, but we too also understand that the way Dillish Ertugrul and Peytat Abdul Hamid and these shows, the way it's perceived and understood in Turkey is not the way that the Muslim, is not the way we understand it. Yeah, we see Peytat Abdul Hamid,
Right.
we see these shows as, oh, mashallah, they're reviving Ottoman history, etc., which they are. But in Turkey, these shows amongst the very different segments of communities are interpreted in a very different way, bro.
Right. I know. I've talked to people who are from Turkey that are from my work. I tell them, hey, I'm watching this article and I'm expecting this enthusiastic response. And they're cold.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, why are you watching that show? Because it resonates differently with many different...
It resonates very differently. It resonates very differently to the supporters of Fethullah Gulen. It resonates very different to AK Party supporters. It resonates very different to Turkish nationalists. It means different things to different people, and I was surprised. I've been to Istanbul and Turkey 5-6 times, and the more and more I visit and the more and more I talk about these shows to different segments of Turkish communities, it's as if they interpret the show completely differently. Of course, there are conservative practicing Muslims in Turkey who perceive Dillish Ertugrul like the way we see it, Islamic revival, unity, justice, izzah, etc. But not everyone sees it like that.
I think some people do see it like that, especially some of the secularists. They do see it like that, and they're repulsed by it because they don't.
True.
They know what that is,
Yes.
and they don't want it.
True, but going back to the point about, of course, stuff like Dillish Ertugrul and stuff we should support, but just on the point about the machinery, right? We can just make and try our utmost best, whether it be via 5 Pillars or Mad Mamluks or whatever respective projects and outlets that we have, is to counter some of this stuff. We know that we will never able to compete with the machinery. Right. So to have that discussion is a completely different discussion, talking about how do we even get to a stage of even thinking about an alternative machine, an alternative ideology, an alternative worldview. Do you understand?
Yes.
All I can say on this particular matter, because I know the whole discussion about Muslims in Muslims in Britain, Muslims in the US was actually born out of the fact that the Blood Brothers podcast will be distinctly British for a British audience, even though we would like the listeners of Mad Mamluks, especially from the States, to tune into our podcast. And there are undeniable differences within the Muslim communities in these two countries. I think anyone who tries glossing over that stuff is being dishonest, right? The point here is that Muslims in the United Kingdom, no doubt we will be affected by secular liberalism through the machinery of the state, whether it be the Charity Commission, Ofsted, CVE policies, stuff like Prevent, etc. We know this, bro. We know this. But the point I'm trying to make is that there seems to be a more potent resistance to it.
And the Muslim community are aware.
Yeah.
There is a general
awareness. Yeah.
There's resistance to CVE and the
Reformation, reformist ideas in the US.
I would say there is still a good amount, a healthy amount of resistance. It's not taking over. It's maybe the reforming the
maybe our barometers are even different.
No.
I'm even thinking.
Here's what's happening in America. The reformists are changing their strategies, okay? And they're utilizing things like Rami and other initiatives to change the way Muslims understand the world and their worldview. I think they're getting more creative. I think they've noticed that the Muslims are resistant towards secular liberal values, how just their viewpoints on various things. Just in regards to Rami, like how they view shame. One of the underlying premises of this show, Rami, was like there's this shame culture that they want to remove, like because as Muslims, when you engage in this type of behavior, there's a lot of shame. But they kind of tossed that whole shame bucket out the window. Like,
So
what
then
shame?
straight for Ramadan.
What are you living in the Middle Ages? Well, what are you being shamed about? They're talking about drug use in masjid. I mean, these are
They're going to town.
just everything under the book.
I think in conclusion to this particular segment,
Yeah.
I think naturally we're both going to come loaded with some stereotypes and caricatures that
Right.
we have of the respective culture, personality, level of spirituality and awareness, political awareness, and the impact it's going to have on the Islamic identity for us with American Muslims and yourself with British Muslims, because we're not living amongst them.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously, naturally, we will have a better sensation, a better idea of what the stock level is of the Muslim community's awareness of this political onslaught on trying to indoctrinate and change and break this resistance, this spiritual resistance, and for future generations to become more liberal, more westernized, and further.
Sim, can I ask you a question?
But what I think, you spoke about 20 minutes before, what I think is
What was that?
He was a strong Steve. That was a. You put some oomph into that.
You were going to cut me off. I was like,
Okay, alright, cool. Carry on.
You went on a mad one earlier.
We're gonna have to work on this mojo, Zoo.
Yeah. So what I feel is that we're not disputing or denying that there is going to be a huge, as it is now, and it will continue to be, effort in trying to change future generations of Muslims. I think religion in general, the role that religion plays in people's lives in general, but of course Muslims more so. We're not denying that that's in full function, in full operation, and it'll get even worse and it'll become heavier
In both countries.
In both countries,
The whole world.
even in Pakistan,
Even the Muslim
Bangladesh,
world, yeah, even the Muslim world, bro.
the Middle East, big time.
In different degrees,
Yeah.
of course.
Because there are different levels,
Yeah.
there are different stages
Yeah.
of influencing. But what we're trying to say is that we have a good understanding of, what we feel we have a good understanding of the Muslim population, the average Muslim, and the inclination towards Islam and holding on to the identity is strong. There is a genuine fear.
I hope that's true.
There's a strong fear.
But
Can I ask you a question? Sim?
I will genuinely.
But there is ignorance.
I beg to disagree. We'll have to disagree on this point because I'm saying I hope
I wanna
it's
ask
true.
you one question.
And
Sim,
I'm even
Did you
saying
agree with what I said?
Yeah.
in the
Sim,
current reality, I'm saying in the current reality, you are correct. Okay, but I'm saying it's not going to hold up in the future. The future.
But we can't be Mystic Megs on this show, though.
No,
can we?
because
You know who Mystic Meg is, by the way?
It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a Mystic Meg to understand
But you know
how
who she
state institutions implement ideas, and it's worked for us in the past as Muslims spread their faith and established their institutions and allowed the indigenous populations of those countries to absorb Islam.
I think
I
I think you're just getting bare defensive about something. I think deep in your heart you already know about the state of the Muslims in America, bro.
No, I think
that
whether it's Islam in America, in Australia, or
try keep a straight face for 3 seconds.
I
if I'm not
guarantee
telling the
you.
truth.
I guarantee
Try keep a
you.
straight face for 3 seconds if I'm not telling the truth. 1, 2.
It's gone.
What?
His face changed.
What I'm trying to establish is
Did he
that
smile?
His face changed completely.
Go on.
I'm trying to establish the fact that state-run
Between 2 and 3
institutions,
seconds,
state-run institutions will always win out in respect to whatever kind of tarbiyah is being implemented in private institutions, private schools. I guarantee you, vast majority of.
But what do you want us to do,
I
bro?
would guarantee you
We would
right
carry-
now
Inshallah, we'll carry on.
and tell you that British Muslim children know British history better than Islamic history. Is that not a fact?
I think they know either.
Bro, that's the thing. Sim, you're asking some. Sim,
Are you saying that young British children right now being raised in British institutions, do they know Islamic history better than British history?
Sim, my dear brother.
No.
Okay.
Of course, and that's my case in point. The institutions.
That's not your case in point.
That's not your case in point.
My point is that these institutions
Sim,
are served to internalize these values.
Sim, do you know what I feel?
Yes.
I feel again, and again, he ain't gonna like this. The way you're going on is actually reflective of the mindset of many Muslims in America. You think it's all doom and gloom. We're seeing it as bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
I'm not saying
Bring
it's
it
all
on,
doom
blood.
and gloom.
I think we're at
It
different
is.
stages.
It's all doom and gloom. I'm
That
saying-
sounded like doom and gloom to me.
Yeah.
You're basically saying that's
That's
it.
a really
It's
good
gone.
point. That's a really good point.
It's
I think-
reflective of your
See,
mindset.
do I think it is, bro?
Maybe-
And
No,
maybe,
I mean,
you know that.
I think we're at different stages. not you personally.
Not you, yeah.
Not you
No.
personally, but I think the fear and the anticipation of what's going to happen to the Muslim community and the Muslim population in America. I think the people that are involved, those who are du'at, scholars,
You know this,
activists,
Sim. You know this, Sim.
maybe in different.
I am not calling for doom and gloom. I'm saying we need
It seems
a
like
radical shift in the way we look at how secular institutions are
We don't deny that,
disseminating
Akhi, we
these
don't deny
ideas.
that. Akhi, we don't
and I
deny
don't
that.
think we see the gravity of the effect.
Akhi, I'm telling you that it's a big.
Bro, I don't think the answer is yes.
It's happening.
Yes, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
coming. We're not scared.
That's what we're saying.
You might not be scared.
I'm telling you now that within the Muslim communities in Britain, alhamdulillah, look, people who are going to be watching this, you know Dilly Hussain, you know 5 Pillars. We know that within the Muslim community, and look, I'm talking to him directly, you know that within Muslim communities, there is great resistance to things which don't go down well with us.
But there is a general fear. Of
Trust
course
me,
there's a
Yes,
general fear.
I understand. We saw your interview with on the Today Show.
But-
Okay,
but-
well, we're not talking about specifically
No,
that.
man.
There's,
No, man.
if you think they're going to stop at that, you think they're just going to say, oh, Muslims they're resistant to secular
Why is
liberal
this-
ideas.
You're
You
shocked,
think
man.
you think that's going to be the end of it?
I think the Brits are going to be watching this.
They will think about new creative ideas on how
I'm
to.
not denying this though. The point I'm trying to make is the Brits who are going to be watching this, inshallah, they're going to be like, rah. The thing is, they're agreeing on the reality, but they seem to be differing on attitude of approaching that reality.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. I'm not denying anything that you're saying, bro.
Okay.
There is a global agenda, especially against Islam and Muslims, to secularize us, to liberalize, and essentially to abandon our deen. Let's make that abundantly clear.
Okay, we agree to that.
And
We
the
both agree.
overwhelming majority of Muslims that are mature are aware that it exists.
Glad you finally agreed to me.
Do you know what? No, you just
That's
weren't
it.
clear.
You weren't clear.
No.
That's exactly what I've been saying.
Do you know what?
You finally figured out the right way.
No.
You finally figured out the right way to articulate your points.
Do you see what the word he used? He's screwing at the very fact that I made the point about him not being articulate earlier. I'm so glad you're only chairing this episode. Yeah.
Anyway, you know how it is.
Exactly. You, me and Sim, we've had a lot of beef today. So don't mind this. But I want to make it. Look at he knows it. He said that point about articulation because I said it earlier. This guy.
Go on.
Go
on. What are you going to say?
Look, bro, no one denies that there is a global agenda, right, to secularize and liberalize Islam and Muslims, right?
Yes.
Because essentially whether people like it or not, and I'm not playing this whole Munich Huntington, us and them clash of civilizations. The point is that Islam as a worldview is the only viable alternative which exists and actually threatens the existing status quo. We know this, bro. That's why the concerted efforts targeted at our deen and our people is so blatant, is so sophisticated, is so overwhelming.
It's relentless.
Is that the way Sim has approached this situation, whether you feel that I was articulate enough or not, is that it seems to be all doom and gloom and like, oh my days, this is happening. And
That's
what
what
are
I'm
we gonna do
saying. I
about it?
feel we're in different stages.
Whereas we're telling you that we know this is happening, Muslims in the UK know it's happening, and we're just saying, hey, let it come, we'll deal with it. In the way that we've protested many of these things, and we've resisted many of these things, yes, there'll be a number of Muslims that will get lost in the cause and will accept these things, but generally speaking, Muslim communities of different ethnic, racial, even sectarian, theological, madhabi backgrounds, they are relatively and quite firm.
I think both communities are anxious. There is a level of anxiety. I'm talking about American Muslims, British Muslims. There is an anxiety,
Islamophobia,
and there's
racism, all of that
and there's
stuff.
a fear, of course, because
It's the
look, when there's attacks on Muslim women, men, children, elders in America, it's happening in the UK as well.
Yeah, bro.
So that creates fear, and it carries on for a period of time. Social media, videos go viral, police beating up X, Y, and Z, and terrible things happening. Yeah. So of course there's an anxiety, of course there's a fear, and of course that exists, and it has existed for years. It has existed for years. So of course parents are aware that their children may be targeted by this. Many parents are aware, especially now with furor around sex and relationship education, around how Islam is, and really central ideas around relationships and these things that are kept private, especially for the young. and should be for all, in a Muslim home, parents are aware of this and how schools are trying to integrate this, and how that is an angle in which Islam is being targeted as well and reformed. So yes, both communities are aware that there is a pressure, that there is, and they're being targeted ideologically, but I feel as if the attitude is different.
Definitely.
The attitude seems to be one of overwhelming fear amongst those who are active and really, really engaged in what's happening politically. So, Muslim activists, scholars, du'at, and others, students of knowledge.
And even general community leaders.
Sure,
and community
parents,
people. Even.
Community leaders.
Parents even.
People who are active in the community, who are aware. If you have the knowledge, if you're not ignorant on what's happening, I think the attitude seems to be one of fear. And one of fear and don't know what to do, really, yeah? But in the UK, I think it's a little bit different. I think the fear and the anxiety is there because
naturally it's there. Of course it's there.
You're not living.
Of course it's there.
And you're not observing what's happening. But I think, like Dilly said, when it comes to where is the direction and the inspiration when it comes to Muslim activists, students of knowledge, speakers, and Islamic knowledge in general, and the personalities are mostly in the UK. And they are the bigger influences when it comes to Islamic activism, and alhamdulillah, we are blessed that we have people like that strengthen the attitude. They give us positive attitude.
That's why, bro. That's why, bro.
We're gonna have to wrap up on that point. We're gonna have to wrap up.
Does that make sense?
No, let's move on to something else because I want to talk a little bit about you two.
Sure.
And why this episode, not this episode, but the Blood Brothers in itself, in terms of Dilly and Aki. Aki.
That's it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Aki.
Yeah. Sorry, it's kind of new.
It's fine.
Dilly just made it awkward.
It's cool.
He always makes things awkward for us.
He's hating on how you said my name. I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
So he's a horrible individual, and I'm glad the cameras are watching.
Aki, go on.
They're getting to know
Aki.
So let's let the listeners know a little bit about the interplay. Why? I know we kind of had a lot of discussion before having this first episode, talking about the interplay that you and Aki have, and I want the listeners.
You're conscious about how you say his name now, innit? You're conscious about how you say his name now, isn't it? No, it's cool.
Did I say it wrong?
No, it's cool.
You said it exactly how I'd say it.
Okay.
Carry on, yalla.
You completely ruined my flow.
Welcome to the Blood Brothers podcast, bro.
Yeah, so
this is it.
Yeah,
so let the listeners know a little bit about Aki.
Okay.
And Dilly. Yeah. So everyone knows Dilly.
So look,
many people know who Dilly.
People are clued up on who Dilly is.
Are they?
Look at the mic. Look into the camera.
So. My name is Aki Hussain.
Really that formal about it?
Oh my god.
Are you gonna be that formal about it?
I'll switch it up. How you gonna interrupt my intro?
Go ahead, Aki.
For work, I'm a physiotherapist, but I like to think that I'm trying to be active in the Muslim community, and I'm passed somewhat as a da'i. Me and my brother speak about so many things every single day, and when it comes to the inspiration behind the podcast itself, and I think it's the idea of when we're talking, it could be a combination of complete-ish, but also there's good content and there's good ideas that we're sharing with each other and discussing, sometimes in great depth. And it's fun when you engage in that conversation. And when sometimes people are involved, whether it's friends or public, relatives, they enjoy hearing us talk and getting involved in the conversation as well. So we were like, hey, why not make it a thing? Put it out there, and inshallah, people can benefit. But yeah, I'm a physio. I'm 28.
Can I say something about my name, brother?
I've been in the da'wah for some time now, and I wanted to do some work with my brother, and really get deep on some really pressing issues, because they're going to be coming up every single day.
You don't get to talk.
But I want to talk about him.
Why is it whenever you need to interrupt?
But I want to talk about my brother.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that allowed?
Well, you're interrupting your brother talking about him. But
okay. Well, look, for those of you who know me, who follow my works and stuff, right? I just want to let you guys in on something. My brother Aki he was public speaking, he was giving khutbahs, he was giving talks to the communities and communities up and down the country way before I even came into the scenes. Alhamdulillah. And I'll even say, even though he's 3 years younger than me, he's my little brother and the youngest of 6 siblings. He's like my best mate, and I love him to bits, right? And I actually when people say, who's your favorite speaker? We always had the who's your favorite speaker, bro. one of my favorite speakers was my little brother. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. I don't want to blow his trumpet. I don't want to blow his. I don't want to throw dirt on his face.
He does have a heart.
No, I'm not. I'm trying not to throw dirt on his face. But the point is that he used to help me prepare before. Not anymore. He doesn't. Well, he does kind of. But he used to help me prepare.
Big fish now, isn't it?
Yeah, he used to help me. Astaghfirullah. He used to help me prepare for interviews, shows, a lot of the early Islam channel stuff, even my first university lectures, even, and I'll be honest with you, this is an admission, even how to open certain talks with du'as and certain things. He used to help me with this stuff to help my nerves. So, in all honesty, the whole inspiration behind Blood Brothers was actually Aki. Yeah, man, he's...
So, remember when we were talking a little bit about how we're going to make Blood Brothers different, and Dilly here's like, we're going to bring on entertainers, we're going to bring on comedians, we're going to bring on every type of person that there wouldn't be a podcast like this in the world. I'm like, tell me more, really. So I'm like, Dilly, you do realize the Mad Mamluks have been doing exactly what you're trying to say and trying to articulate. And he's like, oh, no, you guys are much more intellectual. If I can be honest with you, Sim, you guys are much more intellectual in your discourse. Much more serious. Yeah, serious. So I'm like, oh, Dilly, what?
Hey, man, he slipped it in there. He slipped in his own, made a compliment. He made a compliment.
You know, I've never seen... You know, wallahi.
So I said, hey, Dilly, what episodes have you heard? Well, I've heard 3, the one with Ustad Gilan and what was the other one?
Hamza Sources. Daniel Hakikato.
And I'm like, okay, Dilly, you only heard 3 episodes of the Mad Mamluks, and you're completely labeled the Mad Mamluks as a dry, boring podcast.
I didn't say that.
I mean, well, you didn't want to say that, but that's, I sense an undercurrent of...
Sim, you know what? I've seen a different side of you today, bro. Wallahi, as per the hadith, you get to know someone when you travel with them and you live with them. Bro, it's been 48 hours and I've seen sides of you.
He conceded yesterday, and you know what? Actually, you're right. My opinion's formed on the 3 that I watched.
And here he's Hadouken. Hadouken, just taking me out, bro.
I sense an undercurrent of, you kind of, we're going to do something completely amazing and... I'm just gonna blow your mind.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay. Donald Trump here is wants to do something no one's ever thought of. Tell me more.
Just 2 very quick things. Yeah. I think I was unfair. A lot of credit for this Blood Brothers is also you, Sim.
Thank you.
Wallahi, because Sim was the one who was also been doing my head in about a show. For a number of months, and alhamdulillah, you even sent out some equipment to me all the way from the States, and it was piling dust in my back room, and I was feeling so guilty because I didn't actually get up and do it. So jazakallah khair to both of you. Honestly.
But listen, man, you were an inspiration when you first started 5 Pillars, and I'm like, who's this Dilly Hussain cat who started this 5 Pillars idea?
Remember the first
day. First of all, what kind of name is Dilly? Is he even one of us? And
is he even one of us?
I mean, maybe he's a spy. Who knows in these days?
My name is Dilawar Hussain, Muhammad Dilawar Hussain, and the teachers called me Dilly since I was young.
Well, that's what your local establishment people know in Bedford, but
oh my days!
But the rest of the world is like, who's this Dilly character? And how do you get a name like Dilly? So I'm glad you just explained that.
Yeah.
I think at some point we need to talk on one of the episodes about that night 5 Pillars picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, 5 Pillars essentially.
That was a wild night.
Basically, 5 Pillars was born out of the Woolwich attacks.
What's a Woolwich attack?
Woolwich attack was when Fusilier Lee Rigby, who was a British soldier, was killed. He was murdered by 2 Muslims.
Oh, he was the one who was standing guard. Was he outside the Queen's Gate or something like that?
No, but he was someone who served in Afghanistan.
Oh,
he was in the UK, and then 2 Muslims, Michael Adebolaja and Michael Adebowale, they murdered him. And that story broke, and 5 Pillars were one of the first outlets to jump on that story. I barely had a working laptop. Me and Aki were sharing a room. I was not married at the time, and literally I
still have that laptop.
Yeah, and the laptop.
It's a Vio.
The laptop.
It's obsolete now.
The laptop.
It's a what?
Sony Vio.
Oh wow.
The laptop charger wasn't even working, and I was
it's
running.
A great footstool.
And me and Roshan covered the story up to date as fast as and as quick as the mainstream media.
It's crazy.
And Five Pillars was born from that event.
That's amazing.
And we shared a bedroom then, and it was all popping off there. A laptop.
Come to think of it, that might be how I found out about Five Pillars as well.
2013 May, when the Woolwich attack happened, as one brother quite unsavourily, again I'm making up words, is that so basically Five Pillars made a killing out of a murder.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But I don't think that was...
that's deep.
It wasn't exactly quite politically correct of what he said, but it was true.
It makes a good headline.
It was true in the sense that Five Pillars, essentially, the trampoline or you know, the jump was from the Woolwich attack. The springboard.
I mean, that happens with many efforts, you know. What?
He
trampoline.
He said it was a springboard.
Yeah, springboard.
Where is trampoline?
He said the trampoline.
Trampoline. That kind of threw me off as well.
But look,
I'm glad you caught that, Aki.
the reason why so that's where Five Pillars of Madness was born from.
Yeah,
it was from that incident in a shared bedroom that we had on a
Honestly,
laptop that was barely working.
It was a crazy night.
But with regards to why the Blood Brothers will be unique, is because unlike other Muslim podcasts that are doing fantastic work that are currently out there, whether they be in the US or in Australia or in the UK.
Oh, what a political savvy guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that you've created a brand to be known for certain things, right? And I'll say by names. We got Our Eras Rerouted. We got the Ilm Feed podcast. Our good brothers at Islam 21C have also began a podcast. We've got Smile to Jannah.
All right.
So we've got all of these guys.
Got all these competitors.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them as competitors.
I'm just joking. I love Smile to Jannah guy. I have to meet him.
He's a legend.
I
Wallah, this guy's a legend. Allah bless
My
him.
kids love him.
I mean, he's a ledge. Everyone's doing fantastic work in their respective areas, and they've kind of created a brand for themselves. And you know, when you go to particular podcasts, you kind of know what you're expecting there.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that with Blood Brothers. You're not going to get that. One day we might have an alim. One day we might have an activist. One day we may have an Instagram influencer, a makeup artist. Mm-hmm. We may have some household names which the British Muslim audience are fully aware of. We will have a diversity and a variety of guests. And you're probably thinking, hey, hold up, man. We've had these kind of different diversity of guests. But the point here is...
These are going to be unique to Britain, and many of our American listeners have no idea who we're talking about, and that's fine. And I'm hoping some of our American listeners receive some kind of
inspiration.
Not necessarily inspiration, but maybe
benefit.
They're entertained by seeing some of their cousins across.
Inshallah, we hope. Look, entertainment is a big thing for us, and it's a big thing for many people when it comes to receiving information.
Yes.
And being educated. Entertainment isn't exclusive just for social media and just for media-based information. You need entertainment when you are just educating yourself in a regular way, whether it's going to school, university. Teachers need to have an awareness themselves as well that they can't be boring. No. Otherwise, kids will talk, they'll start throwing things at each other, they'll pull out their phones, they'll start doing things. So entertainment doesn't literally just mean that we're doing madness. It's the style, the manner in which we engage with our guests, the questions we ask, the type of guests that we bring in, and why. Obviously, the guests we're going to bring is going to shape the kind of subject we're going to discuss.
Absolutely.
And that's why we want to have a diverse range of guests from the Muslim community and non-Muslim community as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we want to cast the net far and wide on the subjects we want to address. So that eventually the identity they get from Blood Brothers is that you've got two brothers who are characters that have covered so many subjects that if you were to just press play and just hear show after show after show after show, you would have heard a lot of things and you would have picked up a lot of stuff and you'd understand to a good level what's going on.
Look,
in the UK.
Look, the thing is, I know that some of the guests that we've got in mind who have already said yes to us, none of the other Muslim podcasts out there will ever invite them onto their show, simply because it doesn't fall within their brand or within their objectives of da'wah or profile, you know what I mean? Whereas we accept the fact that the Muslim community is not one homogeneous community. There's a lot of diversity in there. There's a lot of influences in there. And it's not just restricted to ulama, du'at and activists. The Muslim community is far greater, and it transcends beyond these three very common figures that appear in podcasts, including academics as well. You know, our community it consists of as I mentioned already, makeup artists, fashionistas and comedians and rappers and aspiring artists. Some of the stuff that they do is not necessarily endorsed. It seems quite controversial.
The majority of the influences on the Muslim community, especially for the younger Muslim community, younger Muslim population, are not scholars.
Yes.
They're not public speakers.
Yes.
They're not people who are Muslim activists and people who are students of knowledge. The influences are social media influencers and people that would not ordinarily be invited, wouldn't be invited at all, like Dilly said, because they don't fit the profile of a Islamic, Muslim flavored podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Show. So that doesn't make sense.
Because they're part of the ummah.
That doesn't make sense. Not only are they a brother or a sister, but the point is that these people have a role to play. They already add value and are huge in influencing the Muslim community.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play a huge role in shaping the Muslim community moving forward, especially in light of the things we're talking about earlier.
And one very quick thing I want to also add
So you're
is...
missing a trick if you don't speak
Yeah,
to them.
and
We want to speak to them and we want them to speak to us because we're going to share ideas and they're going to say things that we're hearing from a perspective and from a depth that we've not really been able to go into. And also they're going to speak to people who will definitely identify themselves as orthodox conservative Muslims, but probably not in the way that they view what a conservative orthodox Muslim probably is.
And also, just as a quick counter, I know some may be thinking, why would you give certain individuals whose activities and careers are either controversial or frowned upon and even Islamically questionable, why would you invite them onto your podcast and give them legitimacy and access to your audience?
Why would you give them a platform? That's the biggest...
No, because, and I'll tell you exactly why.
Yeah, that's the biggest criticism I get whenever I bring on a controversial person. Like, Fitna.
Yeah. That was a mad episode. I watched that episode.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's crazy. Mad. I even asked you why you bought them on.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. But
yeah, so it's a little bit hypocritical, don't you?
It is.
You asking that?
It is. But we don't have those degrees here. Again, it's a disparity in what's regarded as controversial in the US. And what's
I beg to differ. I've seen you're not as active on Twitter as I.
But look, the point is, we're going to invite them on because they're part of the Muslim community. They represent a particular mindset and a particular trend within the Muslim community. They're not going to get an easy ride here, but at the same time, they're part of this community. They're part of the reflection of the state of the Ummah in the UK.
Yeah.
You can't be nuanced unless you understand and at least expose yourself to other people's views.
And also,
it's impossible.
And
no,
also,
here's the challenge that you're going to have.
Go on then.
When you genuinely disagree with someone,
will
you be able to say it? Because that's the most difficult part of being a podcaster, or in terms of inviting a guest to your house or your studio or what have you. You're bringing them, you're offering the best of hospitality, but then being able to disagree with them on fundamental issues, that's the main challenge.
We're expecting a lot of disagreements.
Yeah.
But how will you... Here's when you fundamentally disagree with someone and you delegitimize their brand, because essentially what is everyone on social media, all those names you mentioned earlier related to UK social media, all these people are brands, and you're in effect delegitimizing their effort or undermining their effort. How do you convey that?
Again, you can either see it as an attempt at delegitimizing their brand or their activities, or you can see it as an opportunity to explain yourself and how you think that this is something which is acceptable, something which is essentially halal or permissible, and it's an opportunity for you to explain yourself.
I think it's
but as you saw,
it's more normal and reasonable for anyone to expect, if they're invited as guests, that I'm going to disagree with this person.
Yeah, and there's going to be some level of...
It seems far more far-fetched to think, I've just been invited as a guest onto a podcast. I think the likely thing is going to be, we're going to agree on everything.
Yeah, and
that seems
that's not going to
happen.
And look, naturally, people are going to do their research.
And then here's also the challenge. You can't just invite the guest and not let them know that, you're going to experience some kind of pushback on certain issues.
Well, look,
you can't just say like, hey, we're going to be having a podcast, and essentially both patting each other on the back, and you can't have that kind of engagement. That's dishonesty, You have to tell them straight up, like, hey, we're gonna just talk about what we're doing and what you're doing, and possibly ask questions that.
Simi, bro, if we wanted that,
yeah.
if we were seeking some type of podcast where we were just going to bring guests on and just share niceties and discuss subjects that we're eventually going to agree on in a really easy way without any type of combat.
We just wouldn't do it.
Then we wouldn't be hoping to get an array of guests.
Yes.
Having an array of guests from different backgrounds, doing different things, and with different ideas, which is open to the people that follow them as personalities already.
I think it's also very important.
Is that we're expecting to have a lot of differences, a lot of disagreements, and some really healthy but mature and entertaining combative discussions. Sure.
And I think it's also important with regards to how you articulate that word again. Remember, Simi, how you articulate your disagreements and how you couch the language in a term which is they don't feel disrespected, right? Look, I disagree with you. I may disagree with you on a major thing, on a major way, but the way I present my disagreements to you, or the way I question the legitimacy of something that you're doing, so as long as it's couched in a language and articulated in a manner which doesn't seem disrespectful, I think we can have that discussion. And if you're going about
respect is so important, and that is something that should be. It's an expectation, especially when you're a guest, and you're going to be asked questions, and you're already anticipating you're going to be asked questions about things that everyone's got something they don't want to be asked about in too much detail.
Yes.
But for sure, you have an expectation that you will be given respect, and you extend that.
And sometimes, you have to be prepared as podcasters, future podcasters, that despite your best articulation, that you did your damnedest to be nice as well, that there's going to be fans of Dilly Hussain who say Dilly sold out. He didn't hit him hard enough.
I get that.
He should have buried them.
Yeah.
And that's some of the feedback I got after our controversial episodes, at least the one recently. That you could have buried them. I know full well I could have buried them in certain arguments, but that wasn't the point. The point was to build engagement, to understand each other a little bit better, and that's something that's going to be a challenge for you guys as well. That there's going to be people. There's meatheads on both sides of the spectrum.
Look, I mean, I already get that, Sim. I mean, even with my most recent interview with Piers Morgan, the great Good Morning Britain show, alhamdulillah, I had a lot of people who commended me and gave me constructive feedback. There were loads of people that were very brutal in their feedback, and alhamdulillah, rightly so. And I'm happy that there's people who follow my work that are able to advise me, because sometimes you need that, But, and this is a very important but, this is a podcast which essentially would be infotainment, right? There will be questions, there will be difficult discussions, but we're not here to offend and hurt people. We're not here about that, Because if we bring on certain guests that are engaged in certain activities or industries or the styles in which they present themselves,
out there that is accessible to people to know.
And quite frankly, even those who have already said yes to us, they know. Again, they'll Google Dilly Hussain. Who is this Dilly Hussain guy? And they'll see my ask because they see my. They'll be like, oh, okay, so this is how he rolls. So they'll know that they're coming onto this show, and there's an expectation that he will ask me about certain things. If that's the case that they're concerned, then they'll either say no to me or no to coming onto the show, or they'll pull it on the last day. And I hope they don't do. But the point here is, we need to be able to have a mature discussion, and even the whole concept of grilling needs to be done in a way in which There's only a few Mehdi Hassans that can operate the way they do, and people who do agree to that kind of a format, they know exactly what they're getting into. Hey man, listen.
Look,
why did you have to mention Mehdi Hassan?
You don't like him?
No, I like him. And there's a great respect for him because he was the one that initially brought me into Huffington Post UK. But there's a very important thing about Mehdi Hassan that needs to be known to the people. Mehdi Hassan, as great and celebrated as he is, there's no real grassroots connection between him and the Muslim community. Right? So, for example, he can bring an alim, he can bring a student of knowledge, he can bring a Muslim influencer or someone, but there's no prior relationship. And have his way. Because, so for example, some of the people that I've contacted, some of the people that have already said yes to coming onto the show, there is some relationship that I have with them, or they know who I am. There's a personal relationship with them. That that Mehdi Hassan doesn't have with the vast
I'm
majority.
intrigued to know who is he accountable to from the Muslim community.
Yeah, exactly, and also as well as which one of
Does he care?
and which one.
Well, he does care because he is invited to many Muslim conventions across North America. Some of the most popular.
But that
ones,
doesn't. But
like ISNA and
that's fine.
whatever,
But that doesn't mean that he's necessarily connected to the grassroots community. He doesn't live amongst the grassroots
His
community.
community.
Yeah. But he's clearly identified his Islamness in a certain way where he has come on stages like RIS in Canada and ISNA in the United States.
Look, bro.
So I'm just saying that it's out there that he's not one of those media personalities who's completely distanced himself from his Islamic identity.
No.
He's very much.
But we have to appreciate that he's also very unadulterated and very overtly clear about his very liberal left-leaning ideas.
Yes.
Yeah? Whether that be same-sex marriage, whether that be LGBTQ things, as well as many other things. But the point here about Mehdi Hassan, why I had to just pull you up on that, is I remember Mehdi Hassan is someone that I know to some degree on a personal level. It was because of him, as I've already mentioned, that got me into Huffington Post. So that was a big thing. I'll always be indebted to him for that. Alhamdulillah, yeah. But Mehdi Hassan, humbly speaking, and I believe he's even said it in previous articles, he's not from the community. Right? He's not lived amongst the community. He's not lived the experiences of the community. So therefore, the level of accountability that Mehdi Hassan has to the Muslim community or communities,
the feeling of responsibility and connection,
is not the same that Dilly and Aki would have.
100%.
So therefore, he can, and he does it very well. Brings guests on and grills them to the next levels. And you have to understand, he has access to obviously policy makers, world leaders, etc. And rest assured that if we had that opportunity, may do in the coming years or not, we don't know if Blood Brother gets that big.
It requires support. Help us out.
Help us get Dick Cheney on the chair.
What's your website to donate?
www.5pillarsuk.com/donate.
There you have it.
And the same goes for Mad Mamluks.
Help us out on patreon.com/Mad Mamluks.
I mean, I'd even go as far as to say that if you had to make a choice between 5 Pillars and Mad Mamluks for donation, that the money needs to go to Mad Mamluks.
Oh, you're what a gentleman.
Well, no, I'm being honest with you, man.
Thank you so much.
I'm being honest because
I appreciate
something like Mad Mamluks is more needed in the US than it is.
I won't disagree with that. After seeing some of the beautiful brothers and sisters I've gotten to know over the past couple of days here in Bedford, just an amazing community. I was, there was a little bit of jealousy, healthy jealousy, nothing like the Nazar, where I want to destroy the community, but some healthy and
all our glasses.
Yes, and I didn't envy those. I felt bad. One of these days, you guys will see the light and upgrade your glasses. So let's. Do you want to close it off? How about the proverbial handing of the torch to Dilly?
No, but the thing is, you've missed one very important thing out, and I feel it's a fantastic way to close the podcast. And that is, a lot of podcasts have this kind of very is it quintessential kind of type of questions. What kind of foods would you take on an abandoned island? Or what would you? What's the one or two people that you take in a
podcast, like a trademark?
Like a trademark question.
Yeah.
So you've not asked us what our trademark.
What will be your trademark, Dilly Hussain and Aki Hussain of the clan Hussain?
Okay, so depending on the gender of the guests, if they happen to be a male guest, we will give them 3 options.
They have to be genuinely male. They can't identify as male on that day.
Yeah. So you can't be a female that identifies as a male on the day, or the other way around.
Biologically male.
Can't be gender fluid.
Yeah.
Biologically male. You can be gender fluid, but you have to be biologically male for this one.
Okay.
We will offer you an arm wrestle. And if you do not want to arm wrestle, then we will have a thumb war. And if we don't have a thumb war, you have to try some bond with us. So some may try and make the analogy that we're saying either accept Islam, pay jizya, or we fight. It won't be like that. So,
how about a friendly thumb war? Sim has a lot of snowboarding injuries in his shoulder.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I challenge you to a thumb war. Do you accept?
I accept.
Okay. Do you want to do 1 or best of 3?
1. No, I think we have time for 1. To be honest.
If he beats you, he has to. I'm the final boss.
1, 2, 3.
I declare thumb war. I thought we do that in America.
Okay.
Yeah. You did it. Oh, I know.
1, 2, 3. Oh.
Finish him.
Kill it. Go.
1, 2.
1, 2, 3. Oh, I got you. Sim
I
one.
think you need VAR for that.
Sim, you got strong hands, bro.
Yeah, you had a metal ring on his
And you got like a Seljuk arrow ring.
Hey, you have very delicate hands, and most British people.
My wife told me I have piano hands. I
You
do.
do have-
I do motion. Bro, he just mashed me. Sim,
I felt a crack. Did something break?
No, okay, calm down. Look, I think the outcome of that result was actually appropriate as you're handing it
Yes.
over to us. The reason why I've not offered Aki because I think I'll get really hurt if you beat my brother, and we might have to rush you.
Really?
That's
I think
true.
I beat you.
Go on then.
Okay.
I think I beat. I don't.
Go on then. Come forward.
I don't want any rira about him losing. Okay.
Ring off.
Ring. Yeah.
Ring off. That's
Ring. Take that off.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Guys,
As if it provides some
Yeah? And
advantage.
it's only the thumbs that move. Yeah. See me. It's not like this.
Look at this. These are actually proper man hands.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. I
I declare
thumb.
war. Okay.
Oh, wait, what's that? It's a thumb war. It's not an arm war.
I can't even reach your thumb. Ugh.
Sim's
Dilly,
thumbs are so-
actually provide some play-by-play for the listeners, all right?
No, I'm saying that Sim's. Like, obviously, you are. You seem.
I'll be telling you like,
You
you
see-
see, to cheat. You move the arm
I mean,
right.
attack team. Dilly,
You're hurting my brother. Leave him alone.
That's fine.
Your thumbs are so
Aki,
big.
You can't do counters, okay? That's what you're doing. You're doing counters.
I'm just looking at the thumb size difference between your hands. Your thumbs are massive, Sim.
Yes.
Zooey, can you do something?
It's just him coming in. I'm just waiting for him.
No, he's just running away. He thinks he's Muhammad Ali with his thumb.
I'm doing the thumb war. He's doing this. I can do that. I can do that.
Come on, try. Can't even do it.
Oh, that was nearly. That was nearly. Wait.
1, 2, 3. Man, your palms are sweaty now.
Right, I'm gonna do a 10-second countdown. There has to be
I'm feeling
decided.
tired. I'm feeling he's getting tired.
Go on then.
Getting tired.
You're just tiring me out.
Go on then quickly.
You
Use the
weasel.
opportunity. Use the
Oh,
opportunity.
my hands are cramping now.
No, Zooey, use it. Zooey, use that. Use his weakness. Use his weakness. Avenge your brother.
This is like the giant fighting the.
David and Goliath, yeah?
Yeah.
Zooey, come on. Avenge your brother. That's good. He's tiring. That's fine. Let him tire out. Let him tire out. Plus, you're on your knees. Don't worry. 1, 2.
We don't have enough time for this.
No, we do. Yeah.
No, that wasn't 1, 2, 3.
Zooey, finish him off. I don't care. We're gonna get a result. We're gonna get a result from this.
We can't do it.
So, do you give up, Sim? Are you giving up, Sim?
Oh, I had him. Come on, that was it.
Are you giving up, Sim?
Instant replay.
No.
Oh.
Are you giving up, Sim?
No, I got him. I had him 1, 2, 3, dude. He's denying it.
That's nonsense.
The viewers are seeing
Okay,
you.
now we have to call in tag teams, okay? Tag team. We have to call in help. I'm gonna call in my index.
Impossible.
That's what we did in the video.
10, 9, 8. One, two.
No.
Okay.
There's no way you can get me, man. It's just.
Okay, I'm gonna finish in 10 seconds. It's gonna have to be between a draw. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
1, 2, 3. Oh,
No,
that was it.
No chance.
That was it.
I don't think so.
That was it.
Dude,
That was
We
it.
did VAR for that one.
That was.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I came out on 3.
It was sorry, Aki. It was a good stand though. You actually legit made me work for
It's a
it.
workout, yeah?
It was a legit workout.
Your thumbs are massive. Can you
Yeah,
just compare
Faith.
hand size, please? Your thumbs are massive. This way.
Maybe they're
It's
wider.
there, yeah,
They're
it's
very
just
wide.
depth.
Thought of. Anyway, so you'll be seeing a lot of that.
That was a good debut for Fumble.
Yeah, it was great.
And for the female guests, we'll just offer this some bond. Because obviously we can't do this with
Why
female
not?
guests.
There's many opinions we can find.
No, there's no such opinion that we will accept to legitimize that. Again,
Aw.
maybe something to do with the states. I don't
Dilly,
know.
you're such a bore.
This stuff doesn't. But anyway,
In America, we would totally be on. No.
okay.
I'm just joking.
Brothers and sisters.
Calm down, British listeners.
Brothers and sisters.
They already made that fear on me.
Jazakallah khair for tuning in to the first episode of Blood Brothers. You'll find us on YouTube, both the Mad Mamluks and the Five Players YouTube channel.
Make sure you click like and subscribe. And if you're upset about any of the things we said, make sure you let us know in the comments below. Just use some nice language.
And what's the podcast platforms that the episodes are going to go up on?
madmamluks.com. You can always go over there directly. You'll see the audio version and the video version available there. And you can go on iTunes, Spotify, every single avenue that you can use to download podcasts in their audio form. For video, you have to go to YouTube, or you can go to our website.
Or ours.
Or the Five Pillars website.
And if you want to say, mate?
Really happy that we finally started it. Really, really excited. Simi, thank you so much for being our host and kicking it off for the first episode.
Yeah, I'm glad we got this whole studio set up.
And look, we're really, really excited for what's ahead. We've got some really exciting topics,
can't wait.
Exciting guests, and inshallah, we're excited to have you guys on board and see this journey that's begun.
I'm glad. Yeah, inshallah. Go ahead.
Jazakallah khairan, brothers and sisters. Love you to bits for the sake of Allah. Tune in next week or in the next 10 days for the next episode of the Blood Brothers podcast.
Blood Brothers podcast, a 5 Pillars of Mad Mamluks production.